3 in the morning looks different when you can't sleep. When you can't walk. The sound of wheels scraping against hardwood echoed through the massive penthouse as Cha Du-woo pushed himself toward the bathroom. Sweat beaded on his forehead, pain shooting through his useless legs. Not that he could feel them, not anymore. But the phantom pain? That was there. Always there. His hand trembled as he reached for the orange pill bottle on the marble counter. Too high. Who had put it there? Right. No one. There was no one left. His fingers stretched, muscles straining. Almost, there. The bottle tipped, tumbled, crashed to the floor. Pills scattered everywhere like tiny white stars against the dark tile. No, he growled, slamming his fist against the wheelchair's arm. No, no, and oh. The sudden shadow in the doorway made him freeze. A woman stood there, watching. The new housekeeper. Karen Sinclair. American. Dark skin glowing warm even in the cold bathroom light. Her eyes didn't hold pity. That was new. Get out. Du-woo snarled, his accent thickening with rage. Instead, she stepped forward, kneeling to gather the scattered pills. Her movements were calm, unhurried. You have two choices, Mr. Cha, she said, her voice steady as a heartbeat. Accept my help or die alone. She looked up, meeting his glare. Your wife already made her choice. In the silence that followed, something shifted between them. Something neither was prepared for. Okay, I know what you're thinking right now. How did this powerful man end up here? And who is this brave woman standing up to him? Trust me, this story is going to grab your heart and not let go. If you're into stories about loyalty when the world turns its back, about finding strength in your darkest hour, you're in the perfect place. Take 2 seconds to smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Done? Perfect. 3 months earlier, Cha Du-woo was untouchable. Mr. Cha, the contracts are ready for your signature. The nervous young executive bowed slightly, placing the leather portfolio on the gleaming desk. Du-woo didn't immediately respond. The floor-to-ceiling windows of his office showcased Seoul sprawling below like a glittering carpet. His empire. Not official, of course. On paper, he was merely a successful businessman with interests in shipping, real estate, and technology. The other aspects of his organization remained carefully shadowed. Is Jin-ho waiting? Du-woo finally asked, his voice soft yet somehow filling the room. Yes, sir. In the outer office with your wife. Du-woo nodded once, a dismissal the executive quickly obeyed. At 43, Cha Du-woo carried his power like a second skin. Tall for a Korean man, broad-shouldered, with eyes that could charm or terrify depending on his mood. He'd risen from nothing, the son of a fish seller who'd clawed his way to the top through brilliance, determination, and when necessary, calculated ruthlessness. He signed the contracts without reading them. His lawyers and Baek Jin-ho, his right-hand man for 15 years, would have vetted everything. Trust was a luxury few in his position could afford, but Jin-ho had earned it. The office door opened without a knock. Only one person dared. Min-young glided in, all silk and perfume, her beauty as calculated as a military strategy. 7 years his junior and his wife of 3 years, she was the perfect accessory for a man of his standing. The car is waiting, husband, she said, her red lips curving into a smile that never quite reached her eyes. You don't want to be late for dinner with the trade minister. Du-woo checked his watch, a Swiss timepiece worth more than most people's yearly salary. Has security cleared the route? Of course. She approached, straightening his already perfect tie. Jin-ho arranged everything personally. Then let's not keep the minister waiting. The transition from office to armored Mercedes was seamless, security personnel clearing paths, doors opening before he reached them, the world bending to accommodate his presence. Min-young's hand rested lightly on his arm, her diamond bracelet catching the light. A perfect couple. A perfect image. You're quiet tonight, she observed as the car pulled away from the curb. Thinking about the Incheon project, he replied, watching the city lights blur past the bulletproof glass. Always working. Her smile seemed genuine this time. That's why you're the dragon of Seoul. Always watching over your territory. He didn't notice her check her phone. Didn't see the text message that simply read, "Now." The world exploded. Later, he would remember fragments. The driver shouting. Glass shattering. The car spinning. The staccato rhythm of bullets tearing through metal. A scream, Min Young's. His own. Then blinding, white-hot pain shooting through his lower back before darkness claimed him. The hospital's ceiling was the first thing he saw. White. Sterile. Foreign. Mr. Cha. A doctor's face swam into view. Can you hear me? Doo-woo tried to speak, found his throat raw. Min Young, he managed. Your wife is fine. Minor cuts only. She's speaking with police. Memory flooded back. The ambush. My driver? The doctor's expression answered before words could. I'm sorry. Doo-woo closed his eyes briefly. Sang-min had been with him for 12 years. Had a daughter in university. My legs, he said next, suddenly aware of a strange absence. He could see them under the blanket, but I can't feel my legs. The doctor's face shifted to practiced compassion. Mr. Cha, the bullets damaged your spinal cord at the L1 vertebra. We've stabilized you, but Doo-woo knew what came next. He delivered enough death sentences himself to recognize one coming. The damage is permanent. You'll never walk again. 5 words. 5 words that erased everything he was. A rustle of expensive fabric announced Min Young's arrival. Her face was a perfect mask of wifely concern, tears threatening but carefully not falling to preserve her makeup. Oh, husband, she whispered, taking his hand. Thank goodness you're alive. But something flickered in her eyes as they traveled down to his legs. Something that wasn't sorrow. Something closer to satisfaction? No. He was imagining things. The medication. The trauma. The police think it was the Taiwanese, she said, squeezing his hand. Or maybe the Jang family retaliating for that shipping contract. Doo-woo watched her face carefully. Call Jin-ho. Tell him to come immediately. Of course. I'll step outside. She pressed a kiss to his forehead, the gesture feeling performative. I'll take care of everything while you recover. As Min Young's heels clicked down the hospital corridor, she didn't notice the woman mopping the floor. Didn't see how the woman's hands stilled on the mop handle, her dark eyes watchful. Karen Sinclair had been working at the private hospital for just 2 weeks, a temporary position while she established herself in Seoul. The employment agency had placed her there until something more permanent came along. She'd learned to make herself invisible in spaces like this, where the wealthy and powerful didn't see service workers. Min Young stepped around the corner, her voice dropping to a whisper as she made a phone call. It worked, but he survived. The paralysis is permanent though. A pause. Yes. I can access everything now. Karen kept mopping, her movements slow and deliberate. Her face revealed nothing, but her mind was racing. She'd been briefed about the important patient in room 301, some kind of business tycoon. The kind of man with power, with enemies. And apparently, with a wife who had orchestrated his downfall. Min Young ended her call, turning suddenly. For a brief moment, her eyes locked with Karen's. Karen quickly looked away, focusing intently on an imaginary spot on the floor. But it was too late. She had heard everything. And worse, Min Young knew it. The mountain estate looked the same. That was the crueler part. The same immaculate gardens. The same marble steps leading to double oak doors. The same security guards who now avoided eye contact as the ramp was positioned for his wheelchair. Home. Except nothing would ever be the same again. The doctor said to keep the bandages clean, the hospital aide explained to Minyoung as they approached the entrance. He'll need help with. We have staff, Minyoung interrupted, her smile tight. Thank you for your assistance. Cha Du-woo said nothing as they wheeled him inside. The grand foyer with its soaring ceiling and crystal chandelier now felt like a museum he was visiting rather than his castle. His eyes traced the staircase, now an impossible mountain. I've had your office moved to the first floor, Minyoung said, scrolling through her phone. The west guest room has been converted to a bedroom for you. It has the necessary accommodations. Necessary accommodations. Like he was a problem to solve rather than her husband. Where are you sleeping? He asked, his voice still rough from weeks of disuse. I've kept our room upstairs. You understand. She didn't meet his eyes. The noise of the medical equipment would disturb my sleep. And you'll have help through the night. Help. The word burned like acid. Jin-ho. Has he called? Du-woo asked as the driver pushed his chair toward what was now his bedroom. He's been busy handling the organization, Minyoung replied. I'll let him know you're asking for him. The bedroom was spacious but felt clinical. Hospital bed. Rails. A bathroom with metal grab bars that made his stomach turn. Everything screamed invalid. I need to freshen up for the board meeting, Minyoung said, already backing toward the door. The new care assistant should be here soon. I don't need. But she was already gone, heels clicking rapidly down the hallway like she couldn't escape fast enough. Left alone, Du-woo stared at his reflection in the window. He barely recognized himself. Thinner. Paler. His once commanding presence diminished by the wheelchair that now defined him. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Mr. Cha? The voice was familiar. He turned to find a woman standing in the doorway. For a moment, he couldn't place her. Then recognition flickered. The hospital. The woman mopping the floor when Minyoung made that call. I'm Karen Sinclair, she said, stepping inside with a professional smile. The agency assigned me to help with your home care. American. Black. Mid-30s perhaps, with close-cropped dark hair and eyes that assessed everything without judgment. She wore a simple gray uniform that did little to hide her athletic build. I don't need a babysitter, he said flatly. Good thing I'm not one, she replied without missing a beat. I'm here to assist with physical tasks, medication management, and home exercises the therapist recommended. Du-woo studied her. Most people flinched under his gaze. She didn't. You were at the hospital. Something flickered across her face. Surprise? Concern? But her voice remained steady. Yes, sir. I was working there temporarily. Before he could question further, his phone buzzed. A text from Jin-ho, meeting with investors pushed to tomorrow. We'll update you after. We'll update you after. Not asking for his input. Not waiting for his approval. The shift had begun. The next 2 weeks established a pattern. Minyoung was a ghost in the house, leaving before he woke, returning after he slept. When their paths crossed, her eyes slid past him like he was furniture. The few times she spoke, her voice held the careful patience one might use with a child or an elderly relative. Karen, meanwhile, was a constant presence. Professional. Efficient. Never offering sympathy or hovering, but always there when needed. She learned his preferences without asking, anticipated needs before he voiced them, and most importantly, treated him like a man rather than a patient. The financial report you asked for, she said one morning, placing the folder within easy reach. And your physical therapist called to reschedule tomorrow's session. Du-woo looked up from his laptop, surprised. How did you know I was expecting this? Your calendar alert showed on your phone when I brought your medication. She shrugged. I figured it was important. He nodded, returning to his work, but found himself watching as she efficiently organized his pills for the day. There was something familiar about her movements. Like she'd done this before. "You've worked with paralyzed patients previously?" he asked. Karen paused. "My father. Workplace accident when I was 22. Construction site collapse." Her voice remained neutral, but something in her eyes darkened. "I know what it's like on both sides of the wheelchair." Before he could respond, voices from the hallway interrupted them. "Min Young and Beck Jin-ho. Just have him sign here," Jin-ho was saying. "It's easier if we consolidate control while he's adjusting." "He'll ask questions," Min Young replied. "He's in no position to make demands. The organization needs strong leadership right now. Our partners in Shanghai are already nervous." Du-woo's hands tightened on the armrests of his wheelchair. Karen, noticing the change, quietly stepped back, making herself invisible as Min Young and Jin-ho entered. Jin-ho, once his most loyal lieutenant, couldn't quite hide his discomfort. His eyes darted around the room, landing everywhere but on Du-woo's face. "Hyung," Jin-ho said, using the familiar term that now sounded hollow. "You look well." "Do I?" Du-woo's voice was cold. "Strange. I don't feel well." An uncomfortable silence followed. "We need your signature on these," Min Young said, placing documents before him. "Just formalities to keep things running while you recover." Du-woo didn't touch the papers. "Things are running without me now?" Jin-ho exchanged a glance with Min Young. "The organization can't appear weak, Hyung. We're protecting what you built. By cutting me out of it. By giving you time to heal," Min Young corrected, her tone sharpening. "Sign the papers, Du-woo. Don't be difficult." In the corner of his eye, Du-woo noticed Karen quietly folding laundry, her back to them but her head slightly tilted. Listening. He signed. Not because he trusted them, but because he needed time. Time to understand what game they were playing. After they left, Karen approached with his tea. "They're lying to you," she said simply, placing the cup by his hand. Du-woo looked up, surprised by her directness. "That's a dangerous observation. Most true things are." Her eyes met his, unflinching. "I overheard your wife on the phone at the hospital. The day you were brought in." His heart rate accelerated. "What did she say?" "It worked, but he survived. The paralysis is permanent though." "Yes, I can access everything now." Karen's voice was soft but clear. "I'm telling you because I believe everyone deserves to know when they're being betrayed." Du-woo stared at her, mind racing through implications. The ambush. Min Young's strange behavior. Jin-ho's sudden authority. "Why tell me this?" he finally asked. "You're putting yourself at risk." Karen's expression remained steady. "My father always said character is what you do when no one's watching. But it's also what you do when someone's vulnerable." She straightened. "I should finish preparing your lunch." As she walked away, Du-woo realized he was seeing her, really seeing her, for the first time. The final betrayal came 3 weeks after his return home. Du-woo had just taken his evening medication when Min Young entered his room without knocking. She wore a black evening dress, diamonds at her throat, perfumed and perfect. "I need you to sign these," she said, placing more documents beside him. "It's the power of attorney we discussed." "We never discussed a power of attorney," Du-woo said, the words slightly slurred. The medication made his mind foggy, his reactions slow. "Of course we did, husband." Her smile was patient, practiced. "You agreed it would be easier with your condition. Just temporary, until you're stronger." Something in her eyes made him hesitate, but the papers swam before his vision. He needed to sleep. "Tomorrow," he mumbled. "It can't wait." Her voice hardened. "The transfer deadlines are tonight." "Transfer deadlines?" But before he could question further, a pen was in his hand, her manicured finger pointing to signature lines. One after another. In the morning, she was gone. Not just from the bedroom, but from the house. Her closets emptied, jewelry safe cleared out. When he wheeled himself to his office, he found Karen standing there, face grim. "Sir," she said quietly. "The household staff has received termination notices. Effective immediately." "What?" He grabbed his phone, tried to access his bank accounts. Denied. Another account. Denied. It hit him like a physical blow. She had taken everything. The house phones began to ring, security, staff, all receiving the same message. "Min Young has fired everyone," Karen confirmed, watching his face carefully. "She's transferred ownership of the companies, liquidated accounts. The staff is already leaving." Daewoo sat in stunned silence as his world collapsed around him. The ringing phones eventually stopped. Footsteps echoed as staff gathered belongings and departed. Guards abandoned their posts. Within hours, the bustling estate fell silent. Completely silent. Daewoo wheeled himself through empty hallways, shock giving way to cold fury. He had built an empire from nothing, and she had stolen it with a signature. He had survived bullets only to die slowly, abandoned and helpless in a house he could barely navigate alone. The pieces aligned with terrible clarity. The ambush. The convenient timing. His loyal men turning away. It hadn't been enemies outside his organization. The betrayal had been sleeping beside him all along. Night fell. The automated lights didn't activate. The smart home system was controlled through Min Young's phone. Darkness crept through the mansion, room by room, until Daewoo sat alone in the pitch-black kitchen, staring at cabinets he couldn't reach. Hunger gnawed at him, but the refrigerator was nearly empty. The highest cabinet, he knew, held emergency supplies. Canned food. Water. Too high for him to reach from the wheelchair. He positioned himself beneath it, stretched upward, fingers scrabbling against the smooth wood. Just inches away. Useless. The sound of the service door opening froze him mid-reach. Footsteps. Quiet but purposeful. His hand moved instinctively toward the knife block, but it had been moved. Out of reach, like everything else in his life. "Who's there?" he called, voice steady despite the hammering of his heart. The lights flickered on. Karen stood in the doorway, plastic bags of groceries in each hand, surprise on her face at finding him in the dark. "Mr. Cha," she said, as if her presence was the most natural thing in the world. "The staff was dismissed," he said, confusion momentarily replacing fear. "My wife fired everyone." Karen set the bags on the counter, her movements unhurried. "The agency didn't notify me of any termination," she replied, beginning to unpack vegetables, rice, containers of banchan. "My contract is with the household, not your wife." She looked up, meeting his gaze with quiet determination. "And I don't abandon people who need me." "Why are you really here?" The question hung in the air between them as Karen unpacked groceries the next morning. She paused, a container of kimchi in hand. "I told you. My contract is with the agency," she replied, placing the jar in the refrigerator. Daewoo's eyes narrowed. He hadn't slept, suspicion gnawing at him all night. "Did my wife hire you specifically?" "No. The agency assigned me." "And you just happened to be at the hospital when I was admitted?" "Just happened to overhear her call?" His voice hardened. "Who sent you?" "One of my competitors." "The Zhang family?" Karen stopped what she was doing and turned to face him fully. She wiped her hands on a kitchen towel, her expression calm but serious. "Mr. Cha, I'm a 34-year-old woman from Atlanta, Georgia. I needed a job that paid well enough to help my mother with her medical bills and my sister with college tuition." She crossed her arms. "The agency placed me at the hospital temporarily. Then they sent me here. That's it. No conspiracy, no secret agenda." "Then why stay when everyone else left?" When there's no guarantee you'll be paid? Karen sighed. Because I've seen this movie before. My father was a construction foreman. Scaffolding collapsed. Spinal injury. Her voice remained steady, but something flickered in her eyes. Everyone walked away. Insurance company, his boss, even some friends. My mom worked double shifts to keep us afloat. She resumed unpacking groceries. So no, I'm not walking away from someone who can't even reach their own cabinets. Not how I was raised. Duwoo studied her, searching for deception. Found none. I don't need your pity. Good, she replied simply. Because I'm not offering any. The first few days established a tense rhythm. Duwoo refused help whenever possible, gritting his teeth through tasks that now took 5 times longer than before. Karen kept her distance, respecting his pride while silently noting the struggles. On the third morning, Duwoo wheeled himself into the kitchen to find something different. The cabinets had been rearranged. Plates, cups, essential foods now occupied the lower shelves. What did you do? He demanded when Karen entered. Made things accessible, she answered, starting the coffee maker. The higher cabinets store things you don't need daily. You had no right to change my house. You had no ability to use your house, she countered. Would you prefer I stand around watching you struggle 3 times a day? Duwoo opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. She was right, though he'd never admit it. Instead, he changed the subject. I need to access my computer. The one in my office. The office upstairs? He nodded stiffly. Karen considered him. We have 2 options. I can bring the computer down, or I can help you upstairs. The thought of being carried made his jaw clench. Bring it down. Later that day, he found his laptop set up in the downstairs study, along with his preferred desk chair positioned for easy transfer from the wheelchair. She had thought of everything, power cords arranged to avoid wheels, desk height adjusted, even his reference books within reach. He worked silently for hours, trying to trace where Minyoung had hidden his assets. Every account emptied. Every business transferred. Properties remortgaged. It was a masterclass in theft, executed with surgical precision. When Karen brought lunch, he didn't look up. Not hungry. You haven't eaten since yesterday. I said I'm not. His stomach betrayed him with an audible growl. Karen set the tray down anyway. It'll be here when you change your mind. The aroma hit him a moment later. Doenjang jjigae. Soybean paste stew. His favorite comfort food, one his mother had made when he was a child. He looked up, startled. Where did you get this? I made it. She shrugged. Watched some YouTube tutorials. Suspicious, Duwoo took a small bite. The flavor wasn't quite right, a little too much garlic, not enough anchovy. But it was close enough to transport him instantly to his childhood, before he became the dragon of Seoul. Before power and fear defined him. It's acceptable, he said, taking another bite. Karen's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. High praise. That night, the inevitable happened. What doctors had warned about but Duwoo had refused to acknowledge. His body betrayed him in the most humiliating way possible. He woke to wet sheets, the catheter he'd stubbornly refused having failed during his sleep. Shame burned through him like fire. He reached for his phone to call. Who? There was no one. Just Karen. His finger hovered over her name in the contacts. He couldn't. Wouldn't. But the bedroom door opened anyway. Karen appeared in sleep clothes, basketball shorts and a faded Atlanta Falcons t-shirt. I heard you moving around. Need something? Duwoo's face burned. Get out. She started to turn, then paused, noticing. Understanding crossed her face. It happens, she said matter-of-factly. It's medical, not personal. I said get out, he snarled, humiliation turning to rage. Karen didn't flinch. Mr. Cha, you have two options. Let me help you change, or sit in it until morning. Your choice, but only one makes medical sense. The standoff lasted 10 seconds. 20. Finally, Duwoo looked away, defeat in every line of his body. Fine. What followed should have been the ultimate degradation. Instead, Karen's clinical efficiency and complete lack of disgust or pity somehow made it bearable. She helped him transfer to the shower chair, turned on the water, and handed him soap. Call when you're done. I'll change the sheets. When he emerged, the bed was fresh, clean clothes laid out, and most importantly, a proper catheter kit waiting. I was a home health aide while studying, she explained. I know how to do this properly if you'll let me show you. That night marked a turning point. Not trust, not yet. But a reluctant acknowledgement that he needed help. And that Karen Sinclair might be the only person left in the world willing to give it without using it against him. By the end of the week, Duwoo had confirmed what he already suspected. Min-young hadn't acted alone. His entire inner circle, men he protected, enriched, trusted, had helped her dismantle his empire. Only his house remained, and only because it was difficult to liquidate quickly. His phone, once constantly buzzing with messages, now silent. Calls went unreturned. Emails unanswered. Your 10 o'clock appointment cancelled, Karen informed him, placing his morning medication beside his tea. Who was it? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Park Sung-min. His attorney for 12 years. Another rat deserting the sinking ship. Very well. Karen hesitated, then said, there was a call earlier. From someone named Mr. Lee. Said he was your accountant. Du-woo's head snapped up. Lee Min-ho called here? When? Around 7. Said he needed to speak with you urgently about offshore matters. A flicker of hope ignited in Du-woo's chest. Min-ho was his most secretive accountant, handling accounts even Min-young didn't know about. If he was calling. The house phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. Karen answered, her expression darkening as she listened. It's for you, she said, handing him the receiver. A lawyer. The man on the other end didn't bother with pleasantries. Mr. Cha, this is Young Hee-jun, representing Mrs. Cha. There are remaining documents requiring your signature to complete the asset transfer. I'll be arriving at 2 p.m. And if I refuse to sign? A cold laugh. Mrs. Cha anticipated resistance. The documents include evidence of certain business activities that would interest prosecutors. Sign, or face charges. The call ended. Du-woo's hand tightened on the receiver until his knuckles whitened. Blackmail? Karen asked quietly. Apparently. She studied his face. Will you sign? Would you? If someone took everything you worked for, then demanded you hand over the scraps. Karen's expression hardened. No. I'd fight. For the first time since the shooting, Du-woo smiled. It wasn't a warm smile, it was the dangerous grin that had once made rivals tremble. Then we prepare for a fight. That afternoon, while Du-woo napped, a necessity he resented but couldn't avoid, Karen took the opportunity to properly clean his office. The lawyer's visit had been tense but brief. Du-woo had refused to sign, and the threats remained just that. For now. As she dusted his desk, her cloth caught on something underneath. A small protrusion, almost unnoticeable. Curious, she ran her fingers along the bottom edge of the massive wooden desk. A button. Karen hesitated. This wasn't her business. But if Min-young was threatening him, perhaps there was something here that could help. She pressed it. A soft click, then a whirring sound. The bookcase to her right slid sideways, revealing a hidden room. Karen stared, heart pounding. She should stop. Close it. Pretend she never found it. Instead, she stepped forward. Motion sensors detected her presence. Lights flickered on automatically, illuminating what could only be described as a war room. One wall held weapons, handguns, rifles, even what looked like a samurai sword. Another displayed surveillance monitors, currently dark. A third contained shelves of cash bundles in various currencies, gold bars, and locked metal boxes. "My God," she whispered, taking it all in. "Give me one reason," came a cold voice behind her, "why I shouldn't assume you're here to finish what my wife started." Karen turned slowly to find Du-Wu in the doorway, his wheelchair blocking the only exit, his eyes harder than she'd ever seen them. Karen's heart pounded against her ribs as she faced Du-Wu in the doorway. His eyes held the cold calculation of a predator. "I was cleaning," she said simply. No excuses. No elaborate story. "And the button? You just happened to find it?" "My cloth caught on it." She kept her voice steady. "I was curious." "That was stupid of me." Du-Wu's hands gripped the wheels of his chair, knuckles white. "Curiosity is a luxury people in my world can't afford. It gets them killed." The threat hung in the air between them. Karen glanced at the weapons on the wall, then back to Du-Wu. "If you're going to kill me for finding your secret room, do it now," she said. "Otherwise, I'd like to finish cleaning the office." Her directness seemed to catch him off guard. For several seconds, he studied her face, looking for fear, for deception, finding neither. Finally, his shoulders relaxed slightly. "You're either very brave or very foolish. I've been called both." She gestured to the room. "So, not just shipping and real estate, I'm guessing." The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Not just those, no." Du-Wu wheeled himself fully into the room, the door sliding closed behind him. The space felt smaller with both of them inside, the air heavier. "I built my first legitimate business at 25, he said, moving to the wall of monitors. "But in Korea, legitimate businesses need protection. From competitors, from officials wanting bribes, from those who would take what isn't theirs." His fingers brushed the dark screens. One thing led to another. "You're Yakuza?" Karen asked. "That's Japanese. We have our own traditions." He turned to face her. "I protected people. Provided jobs. Kept order in places the law couldn't reach." Karen processed this, her expression thoughtful rather than judgmental. "And your wife? Was she involved?" Min-young knew enough. "Not everything." His jaw tightened. "She enjoyed the benefits, the lifestyle, the respect, the power that came with my name. But she kept her hands clean." Karen took a risk, asking the question that had been burning since the hospital. "Was she involved in the attack on you?" The silence that followed was answer enough. Finally, Du-Wu spoke, his voice quiet. "I believe so. But I have no proof." The timing was too perfect. She was prepared for everything, the legal documents, the bank transfers, the company restructuring. All executed within days of my injury. He wheeled to the shelf of cash, running his fingers along a stack of one. "What I don't understand is why. Money, yes, but she could have divorced me and taken half. Why the elaborate betrayal? Why try to kill me?" "Maybe it wasn't just about money," Karen suggested. "Maybe it was about power. Your organization." Du-Wu considered this. "Perhaps." He looked at her directly. "Now you know who I am. What I am. Does that change your decision to stay?" Karen leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "My father's accident happened at a high-rise construction site. The company denied responsibility, claimed he'd been drinking. He wasn't." Her voice hardened. "But they had lawyers, insurance companies, money. We had nothing." "I'm sorry that happened," Du-Wu said, surprisingly genuine. "My point is, I've seen what legitimate businesses do to people. At least you're honest about who you are." She met his gaze. "And you haven't answered my question from before. Which was? Are you going to kill me for finding this room? Duwoo actually chuckled, a sound she hadn't heard from him before. No, Miss Sinclair. I think we're past that now. As they exited the secret room, the dynamic between them had shifted. Not quite trust, but a mutual understanding. They had both shown their cards, at least some of them. The next morning brought a change in routine. Instead of breakfast in his room, Duwoo asked to be in the kitchen. He watched as Karen prepared a simple meal of rice, soup, and banchan. My mother made soup like that, he observed. Before she got sick. Karen glanced over her shoulder. Cancer? Yes. I was 15 when she died. I'm sorry. She placed the bowl before him. Is that why you rose so fast? To provide for your family? My father and younger brother, yes. Duwoo ate a spoonful of soup. My father died 3 years later. Heart attack. My brother, we don't speak anymore. Why not? A shadow crossed his face. He disapproved of my methods. Said I dishonored our parents' memory. Karen sat across from him with her own bowl. But you protected him? Always. Paid for his education. His house. His children's futures. Duwoo's voice turned bitter. He takes my money but won't take my calls. Families are complicated, Karen said. My ex-fiancé was the same way. Duwoo looked up, surprised by the personal revelation. He was there when my dad's accident happened, she continued. Supportive at first. But once it became clear Dad wasn't getting better, that our lives would revolve around his care, he started pulling away. He left? Karen nodded. Said he didn't sign up for this. That he wanted a wife, not a caretaker. Her laugh held no humor. As if I had signed up for it. As if my father had chosen to have his spine crushed. Duwoo was quiet for a moment. You stayed with your father. Until he died, yes. 3 years after the accident. She rose to clear the dishes. So when people show who they are in a crisis, I pay attention. And what have you seen in me? Duwoo asked. Karen paused, considering. Someone who's angry. Hurt. Dangerous, yes. But also, resilient. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang. They both froze, no one had visited since Minyoung left. Karen moved to the security panel on the wall, bringing up the front gate camera. A delivery man stood waiting, a large box in his arms. Were you expecting something? She asked. Duwoo shook his head. No one knows I'm still here. Karen's eyes narrowed. Wait here. She moved through the house to the front door, something prickling at the back of her neck. Instinct, maybe. Or just caution learned from her father's experience. The delivery man smiled blandly when she opened the door. Package for Mr. Cha. Who's it from? Karen asked, not reaching for it. Doesn't say. Need signature. Karen studied the box. Plain. No company logo. No return address. The delivery man shifted his weight, impatience flashing across his face. I'll need to check with Mr. Cha first, she said, starting to close the door. The man's foot suddenly wedged in the doorway. It's just a package, lady. His insistence sent alarm bells ringing. Karen's eyes dropped to his hands, knuckles white around the box, a slight tremor. Leave it on the step, she said firmly. I'll bring it in. Need a signature, he repeated, pushing against the door. Karen made a split-second decision. She shoved the door hard against his foot, causing him to stumble back in pain and surprise. The package fell, hitting the stone step with a distinctly metallic clank. The delivery man's face transformed, fury replacing blandness. He reached into his jacket, but Karen was already slamming and locking the door. Through the security panel, she watched him flee, limping slightly, no attempt to retrieve the fallen package. Duwoo had wheeled himself to the hallway, alarm on his face. What happened? Fake delivery, Karen said, heart pounding. I think it might be a bomb. 20 minutes later, after carefully moving the package to the garden using a shovel, they confirmed her suspicion. The box contained an improvised explosive device, crudely made but effective enough to kill anyone in close proximity when opened. How did you know? Duwoo asked as they sat in his office, the security feeds showing police bomb disposal technicians in the garden. She had called them anonymously, not wanting to involve Duwoo directly. He was too insistent. Wouldn't leave it. And when it fell, she shrugged. I've watched too many crime shows, I guess. Duwoo wasn't smiling. You saved my life. Again. It's becoming a habit, she said, attempting humor. They'll try again, he said seriously. Whoever sent that, Min Young, Jin Ho, one of my rivals, they won't stop. Karen watched the technicians carefully removing the device. Then we need to be ready. We? Duwoo raised an eyebrow. This isn't your fight, Ms. Sinclair. Karen, she corrected. And I think it became my fight when someone tried to blow up my workplace. Duwoo studied her, something new in his expression. Respect, perhaps. Or concern. You could leave, he said quietly. Go back to America. To safety. Is that what you want? He didn't answer immediately. It would be simpler. Simpler isn't always better. Karen crossed her arms. Besides, who would make your soup? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Who indeed? The moment was interrupted by Karen's phone ringing. She checked the caller ID, Mom. I should take this, she said, stepping toward the door. Of course. Hey, Mom, Karen answered, moving into the hallway. Everything okay? Her mother's voice was tense, worried. Karen, honey, there was a woman here asking questions about you. Said she was from the Korean embassy. Karen's blood ran cold. What? When? Yesterday. She knew where you worked, knew about your father, had pictures of our house. I have a bad feeling, baby. Karen turned slowly, meeting Duwoo's eyes through the doorway. The color drained from her face. Min Young found my family, she whispered. Tell me your mother's address, Duwoo demanded the moment Karen lowered her phone. His voice had changed, sharper, more commanding. The voice of the man he used to be. Karen hesitated, the fear for her family battling with caution about sharing personal information. Karen. Duwoo's eyes locked with hers. I can help, but I need the address. She gave it to him. What choice did she have? Duwoo immediately wheeled himself to the secret room, Karen following close behind. Inside, he moved to a secure phone she hadn't noticed before. This line can't be traced, he explained, dialing rapidly. Min Young doesn't know about it. Karen watched in stunned silence as Duwoo spoke to someone named Jackson in fluent English, giving precise instructions about her family's protection. The conversation was brief but detailed, security protocols, surveillance, extraction plans if necessary. 2 men will be at your mother's house within the hour, he said after hanging up. They'll remain unseen unless needed. Your sister at college will have security too. How? Karen struggled to process what she just witnessed. How do you still have people working for you? I thought everyone left. Not everyone. His mouth tightened. I built my organization for 20 years. Some loyalty can't be bought or stolen. And these men, they'll protect my family? You're sure? With their lives. Duwoo's certainty was absolute. Jackson owes me. I got his daughter out of North Korea 3 years ago. Karen sank into a chair, the adrenaline crash hitting her hard. Why would Min Young target my family? I'm just the help. You're the only person who stayed with me, Duwoo said quietly. The only witness to what she's done. And now. He gestured to the room around them. You know too much. The reality of her situation crashed over Karen like ice water. She'd crossed a line without realizing it, from caregiver to accomplice, from bystander to participant. So what now? She asked. She sends bombs, threatens my family. We just wait for the next attack. Duwoo studied her, his expression unreadable. That depends on you. On me? You have a choice, Karen. You can leave, I'll ensure your family's protection regardless. Or. He paused. Or we fight back. How exactly does a man in a wheelchair fight back against people who want him dead? The words came out harsher than she intended. Instead of anger, Duwoo smiled, a dangerous, predatory smile that reminded her who he really was. The same way I built an empire. With intelligence, resources, and people who are underestimated. He wheeled closer. Minyoung thinks she's won. That I'm broken. Helpless. Aren't you? My legs don't work. My mind does. He tapped his temple. And I still have assets she doesn't know about. Accounts she couldn't access. People loyal to me, not her. Karen stood, pacing the small room. So you're proposing, what? That we team up? Take her down? I'm proposing a pact, Duwoo said. Mutual protection. I shield your family. You help me rebuild. Together, we make Minyoung regret her betrayal. Karen stopped pacing, facing him directly. If I do this, help you, I need to know everything. No more secrets. And no illegal activities. Some secrets protect you, Duwoo countered. And legality is complicated in my world. Not for me. Karen's voice hardened. I won't help you hurt people. I won't be part of that. For a long moment, Duwoo said nothing, the silent battle of wills filling the space between them. Finally, he nodded. I accept your terms. For now. He extended his hand. Partners? Karen looked at the offered hand, strong, capable despite his condition. The hand of a man who had ordered violence, who lived outside the law. But also the hand of the man who had just protected her family without hesitation. She took it. Partners. If this story of loyalty in the face of danger speaks to you, hit subscribe right now so you never miss an update. Smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, back to our unlikely alliance. This is ridiculous, Duwoo grumbled the next morning, eyeing the equipment Karen had assembled in the home gym. It's not state-of-the-art, she admitted, but it'll work. Using supplies from around the house, Karen had created a makeshift physical therapy setup. Resistance bands tied to sturdy furniture. Hand weights fashioned from water bottles filled with sand. A padded mat on the floor for core exercises. I did physical therapy with my father for 3 years, she explained. The fancy equipment is nice, but unnecessary. Duwoo looked skeptical. And this will help, how? You need upper body strength. Core strength. Not just for daily activities, but for what's coming. Karen crossed her arms. Unless you plan to defeat Minyoung by running her over with your wheelchair? A reluctant smile tugged at his lips. Fair point. What followed was the first of many grueling sessions. Karen was a demanding trainer, pushing Duwoo through exercises that left him sweating and cursing in Korean. She ignored his complaints, noting with satisfaction the determination that replaced his initial resistance. Again, she instructed after he completed a set of modified pull-ups using the resistance bands. This is torture, he gasped, arms trembling. This is survival, she corrected. Your enemies think you're weak. Every rep makes that assumption more dangerous for them. By the 3rd day, their routine expanded. Mornings for physical training. Afternoons for strategic planning in the secret room. Duwoo began teaching Karen about his financial systems, the legitimate ones and the gray areas. This account, he said, pointing to figures on a secure laptop, Min-young doesn't know about it. I established it through a shell corporation in Singapore. Karen studied the numbers. That's a lot of zeros. Emergency funds. I've always been cautious. Cautious enough to hide money from your wife, but not cautious enough to prevent her betrayal, Karen observed. Duwoo's jaw tightened, but he didn't deny it. I trusted her. A mistake I won't repeat. As the days passed, their partnership deepened. Karen absorbed everything Duwoo taught her, financial systems, security protocols, even basic Korean phrases. In turn, she pushed his physical recovery further than he thought possible. Your core is getting stronger, she noted one morning, helping him complete a series of transfers from wheelchair to mat and back. Soon you'll be able to do this independently. Thanks to your torture sessions, he replied, but there was no bite to his words. During their fifth workout, something unexpected happened. Karen was demonstrating a self-defense move, how to break a chokehold, using Duwoo as her practice dummy since he was seated. If someone grabs you from behind, she explained, positioning his arm around her neck, you tuck your chin, grab their arm, and she executed the move, breaking his hold and spinning to face him. Good, Duwoo nodded. But if your attacker is stronger, try this. He reached out, demonstrating a different grip-breaking technique on her wrist. Use their momentum against them. Karen practiced the moves several times, surprised by his expertise. Where did you learn this? I wasn't always surrounded by bodyguards, he said. I fought my own battles first. They continued exchanging techniques, Duwoo showing her how to strike vulnerable points, how to use leverage instead of strength. Despite his condition, his upper body was powerful, his knowledge extensive. You're a quick study, he observed as she successfully countered one of his moves. I had a good teacher, she replied, slightly breathless from exertion. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them. A moment of connection that transcended their arrangement. Then Duwoo smiled, not his dangerous smile, or his sarcastic one, but something genuine. Something warm. We might survive this yet, he said softly. That afternoon brought their first major breakthrough. While reviewing financial records, Karen noticed a discrepancy in Min-young's transfer patterns. Look at this, she said, pointing to the screen. She moved money from your main accounts, but these subsidiary companies weren't touched. Duwoo leaned forward, studying the data. She didn't know about these. They're registered under different names. So we have access to about $12 million, he confirmed, something like hope flickering in his eyes. Not my full fortune, but enough to start rebuilding. Karen felt a surge of satisfaction. Enough to fight back. That night, they celebrated with a proper dinner. Karen prepared bulgogi using a recipe she'd found online, while Duwoo contributed a bottle of wine from his cellar, one of the few luxuries Min-young hadn't taken. To unexpected alliances, Duwoo toasted, raising his glass. And to justice, Karen added, clinking her glass against his. Later, as Karen prepared for bed, she caught herself smiling at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The fear was still there, the danger still real. But for the first time since discovering Min-young's betrayal, there was also hope. A path forward. She was so lost in thought that she almost missed the soft beep from the hallway. The security system. 3 rapid beeps, the silent alarm code. Karen froze, listening. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The alarms suddenly blared to life, a wailing siren that meant perimeter breach. Multiple intruders. She sprinted down the hallway to Duwoo's room, heart hammering. He was already awake, maneuvering himself into his wheelchair. Safe room, he ordered as she entered. Now. It's upstairs, she protested. We'll never make it. The one upstairs, yes, Duwoo said grimly. Under my bed. The black case. Karen dropped to the floor, reaching beneath the bed frame. Her fingers found a hard case, which she dragged out. "Open it," Duwoo commanded, his eyes on the security tablet beside his bed. "They've cut the main power. Backup generator is keeping the alarm and some cameras online." Karen's hands trembled as she unlatched the case. Inside, nestled in foam, was a handgun. Black. Modern. Deadly. "Take it," Duwoo said, his voice leaving no room for argument. Karen hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing on her. This wasn't self-defense training or financial planning. This was a line she'd never expected to cross. Duwoo wheeled closer, his eyes intense. "You need to make a choice right now, Karen. Can you use this if you have to?" Before she could answer, a crash echoed through the house. The sound of glass breaking downstairs. They were out of time. The gun felt wrong in Karen's hand. Heavy. Foreign. But the sounds of intruders downstairs left no time for moral debates. "Yes," she whispered, answering Duwoo's question. "If I have to." Duwoo nodded once, then pointed to the wall panel beside his closet. "Press the lotus painting. Third flower from the right." Karen did as instructed. The panel slid open, revealing a small room, another hidden space in this house of secrets. "Panic room," Duwoo explained as she helped maneuver his wheelchair inside. "Bulletproof. Separate communication system. Enough supplies for 3 days." "Good," Karen said, preparing to follow him in. "We can." "No." Duwoo grabbed her wrist. "You can't be in here." "What?" "Why not?" "Because they'll search the house. Find nothing. Then burn it down with me inside." His eyes were deadly serious. "You're my only advantage. The variable they don't expect." Realization dawned on Karen's face. "You want me to distract them." "I want you to survive," he corrected. "But yes, distraction would help." Footsteps on the stairs. Getting closer. Karen made her decision in a heartbeat. "How do I seal you in?" "Same panel. Be careful." Their eyes held for a moment, something unspoken passing between them. "I will," she promised, then closed the panel, watching it blend seamlessly into the wall. Alone now, Karen took stock of her situation. Gun in hand. Intruders approaching. Her mind raced through the layout of the second floor. The master bedroom had a balcony. The guest room connected to a back staircase for staff. The linen closet had a laundry chute. Options. She had options. Slipping off her shoes, Karen moved silently to the hallway, keeping low. 3 men were climbing the stairs, dark clothes, face masks, guns visible. "Check every room," one ordered in Korean accented English. "Find Cha. Jin-ho wants confirmation." Jin-ho. Duwoo's former right-hand man. The betrayal ran deep. Karen retreated to the master bedroom, the one place they'd expect to find Duwoo. She made the bed creak deliberately, loud enough to hear, then slipped into the massive walk-in closet. Footsteps rushed toward the sound. "In here," a voice called. Karen pressed herself behind a rack of Minyoung's abandoned designer clothes as 2 men burst into the bedroom. While they searched the obvious hiding spots, she inched toward the back of the closet, to the small door that connected to the adjoining bathroom. "Nothing," one growled. "Check the bathroom." As they moved toward the bathroom door, Karen slipped through the connecting door, circling behind them. Heart pounding, she eased back into the bedroom and out to the hallway. The 3rd man was methodically checking rooms down the corridor, back turned to her. Karen had a split second to decide, try for the stairs or create another distraction. The gun weighed heavy in her hand. Could she actually shoot someone? Instead, she grabbed a decorative vase from a hallway table and hurled it down the opposite end of the corridor. It shattered spectacularly. There. The man turned, running toward the sound. Karen used the opportunity to slip down the back staircase, emerging in the kitchen. She needed to draw them away from Du-Wu's bedroom, keep them searching, buy time. In the kitchen, she quickly turned on the gas stove without lighting it. The subtle hiss of gas would take time to notice, but would eventually force evacuation. Not enough to explode, just enough to create confusion. Voices from the dining room. Coming closer. Karen ducked behind the massive